Hey there, guys. Alright, today we are back with some more of the Great War. This time, week 111, week 111. Fire in the sky. Zeppelin shot down over Britain. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Okay. Really don't know. Nothing really to say here at the beginning of the video, so we're just gonna dive in. Stuff gets shot down. I must suspect this is gonna be another one of them boring weeks.
There was a fire over Britain this week, but far from sparking fear, it sparked jubilation, for the fire was a German Zeppelin being shot down, the first victim of incendiary bullets.
Ooh. Nice. Innovation in how to kill one another? Woohoo.
I'm Indy Nidell. Welcome to the Great War. Okay, last week the Germans counterattacked successfully at the Somme. Romania joined the war and occupied East Transylvania. The British occupied Morogoro in German East Africa. And German Army Chief of Staff Erich von Falkenhayn was sacked and replaced by Paul von Hindenburg, who had ambitious plans for revitalizing the German army. This week, Hindenburg and his right-hand man Erich Ludendorff visited the Western Front for the first time and were horrified by what they saw at Verdun, where the battle had raged since February. Hindenburg said, "Battles there exhausted our forces like an open wound. The battlefield was a regular hell and regarded as such by the troops." Ludendorff said, "Verdun was hell. Verdun was a nightmare for both the staffs and the troops who took part. Our losses were too heavy for us." They ordered the cessation of all German attacks there. German losses by now at Verdun were 281,333 men. French losses were 315,000. On the French side, General Philippe Pétain was having the French Second Army conserve its forces for a mighty counterstroke. From this week then, as the French prepared, an uneasy and suspicious calm descended upon the battlefield of Verdun, although there was one glaring exception. On September 4th, in the Tavannes railway tunnel that was being used as a barracks and a storage depot, a fire broke out among a cargo of rockets. In seconds, the rockets set off the grenades in storage. They, in turn, ignited the gasoline used for the lighting generator, which then set off even more grenades. The whole tunnel began to collapse, and men in a state of panic among the exploded body parts fled out into the open, only to be caught by German shell fire. For 3 days, the fire raged in the tunnel, and when men could finally enter, they found over 500 dead, charred, exploded bodies.
Ooh.
And the body count was still rising a bit to the northwest at the Somme, as that offensive entered its third month. There was a big combined attack there September 3rd. The French would attack both north and south of the River Somme. The British Fourth Army would send 5 divisions against the line from Guillemont to High Wood, and 4 divisions from the reserves would attack from Pozières to the Ancre Valley. The artillery bombardment was heavy, but not nearly as heavy as before the successful July 14th attack, and a preliminary attack against Falfemont Farm served only to give the Germans notice that a larger attack was coming. The preliminary attack was a disaster. The bombardment and the creeping barrage failed. The French saw this and refused to attack, but the British went ahead anyhow.
Oh dear God.
The Second King's Own Scottish Borderers' War Diary had this to say: "I don't think a man of any regiment would have gone to certain death the way ours did, having seen as they did the failure of both preliminary bombardment and creeping barrage. The beautiful thing about it is that they all knew when they went over that this would happen, and not a man flinched."
I don't think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's a quite horrifying thing.
The main attack on the left of Falfemont Farm actually went quite well. The men of the 5th Division advanced nearly 3 kilometers and even outflanked Guillemont. There, the bombardment had thrown the defenders into disarray. Also, the German machine gunners were pinned down by a simultaneous attack from the north by the 20th Division. The 2 divisions linked up. The 20th had actually finally captured Guillemont. After this, with the Germans disorganized, Falfemont Farm and Leutze Wood were also taken, and the right angle around Delville Wood that had so confounded the Allies had been eliminated. Now, this really helped British tactical positions, though the attacks on Ginchy and High Wood failed. The British were now 5 kilometers east of their July 1st starting point, and the French more than 6 kilometers. And there were a lot of armies also on the move far to the east. On September 3rd came the first Central Powers moves against Romania as they attacked from the south and Bulgarian aircraft bombed Bucharest. The invasion force, under German General August von Mackensen, was mostly Bulgarian and Turkish troops, and they lay siege to Tutrakaya and the garrison of 40,000 men there, nearly 3 times Mackensen's forces. After 1 day of battle, the fortress surrendered. 2 days later, a second fortress, Silistria, surrendered without a fight. More than 40,000 Romanian soldiers, including 3 generals, surrendered to the invaders this week.
Romania's not doing good.
To the north of that, the Russian summer-long offensive against Austria-Hungary, which had seemed to grind to a halt, showed signs of life. On the Zlota Lipa front, the Russians took 19,000 prisoners in 4 days, and on the 7th, Halic on the Dniester River was taken and set on fire. And another fire that was a lot more appreciated by the locals happened over Britain this week. On September 2nd, 16 German airships set off on the largest raid ever mounted. 10 succeeded in reaching London before midnight. 1, after weaving through an anti-aircraft barrage, was shot down by Lieutenant William Leaf Robinson over Hertfordshire with the new incendiary bullets. Zeppelin historian R.L. Rimmel writes, "This was the moment that so many Londoners had waited to see for so long, and they made the most of it. Complete pandemonium broke out as people rushed out on the streets, singing, clapping, and cheering, echoing over the rooftops. Children and women danced in the streets. For many, it would be a lasting impression even over 60 years later." Robinson won the Victoria Cross for this, and it was the only VC awarded for something that happened on or above British soil. In the 2 days after the incident, 10,000 people took the train from King's Cross to see the wreck and get a souvenir. It wasn't just the British whose morale had a boost, though. The Italians were still feeling on top, too. A few weeks ago, on the Italian front, the 6th Battle of the Isonzo River had come to an end. And though the Italians had taken high casualties, they also took a real prize, Gorizia. This was a big shock to the Austro-Hungarian High Command, because the road to Vienna now lay somewhat open. But even during the 6th Battle, Austrian General Svetozar Barojevich von Boyna's engineers were building up their 2nd and 3rd defensive lines. They used a labor force of 500,000 men, you heard that right, including 200,000 Russian prisoners of war, to deepen the trenches, build machine gun posts, and stake out huge barbed wire entanglements. Most of this was done on the Corso, which was where Barojevich figured the next attack would come. But really, they built up the whole Isonzo front. And let's take a moment to think of the engineer corps of the Austrian Fifth Army. They were the big heroes of the defenses there, drilling, digging, and blasting deep into the hard rock and using concrete and steel to build pretty near indestructible supply and munition depots. Italian Chief of Staff Luigi Cadorna did indeed plan to break through on the
Italian Chief of Damassery
Corso, but he also wanted to take Mount Rombon and the Bovec Basin. He had no problem with reinforcements at all. The Italian war machine now had seemingly endless manpower, and the northern Italian industry had hit peak production of war material. By now, just weeks after the 6th Battle, Cadorna was ready to launch the 7th Battle of the Isonzo River.
Because if it didn't work the first 6 times, surely it will work the 7th, right? I give up.
But this was a week of heavy rain, so heavy that the Isonzo burst its banks and flooded the trenches. By the 7th, the weather had turned, and as the week drew to a close, Cadorna readied his artillery for the opening barrage. And now a few notes to end the week. On the 4th, west of Lake Van, British armored cars engaged Kurdish forces. On the 6th, New Zealand passed conscription. Also this week, on September 3rd, Dar es Salaam surrenders to British naval forces. Still though, the British, Belgian, and South African forces made slow going, and though the Germans had lost 2/3 of their land in German East Africa, they still continued their remarkable operations. And that was the week. Allied success at the Somme, Romania getting its first real taste of the war and not liking it. Italian plans afoot, a huge fire at Verdun, and another one in the British skies. People have written in a lot to us asking why Zeppelins weren't shot down all the time, being just bags of hydrogen gas. But the gas was separated into loads of compartments, and shooting a few of them wouldn't bring the ship down. Also, for the first half of the war, they flew higher than AA guns or airplanes could reach. But this was a big change. Incendiary bullets, phosphorus at this point, ignited the gas and turned the Zeppelin into a huge ball of fire, slowly crashing to Earth. The crews got to choose either jumping to death or burning to death. I'll say it again, it was just another harsh new reality of modern war. If you want to find out more about these majestic and deadly giants of the war, you should check out our Zeppelin special.
And that was Fire in the Sky, Zeppelin shot down over Britain. The Great War, week 111. We're not too far off. We're getting closer and closer to the halfway point. That still means a lot of fucking videos to go. Got nothing really to add. This, as I predicted at the beginning, this was a boring week. Things happening, but nothing really conclusive. Nothing really being taken. And that's gonna be really the story. I'd say until the February Revolution, I want to say. Because we've gone through the Battle of the Somme and Verdun. I think the next really exciting thing, unless something happens with the Arab Revolt, because I don't know much about that, I think the next big thing happen in the timeline is not until the February Revolution in Russia. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.